Mark, we're just talking about China's presence in the Arctic. And of course, it's not just the Arctic, it's in the Pacific as well. There's a new sort of security configuration with what's called AUKUS. And I understand there's some talk about New Zealand joining Australia, the UK, and the US in that configuration. Not much talk about Canada. This is a new strategic security configuration that is being created, and we don't seem to be at the table. Is this something that concerns you?
Yeah, it concerns me deeply, and it concerns me for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's been mischaracterized in the public by a number of people, including the Prime Minister, and I've stated this publicly. He has dismissed this as being only related to the acquisition of nuclear submarines by the Commonwealth of Australia. It is much deeper than that. It is much more significant than that. It is about strategic information sharing in a variety of very important technical domains, from AI to cyber to acoustics to hypersonic weapons to a variety of things which are in our national interest from a security and defense perspective. And of course, we have traditionally depended on a very tight relationship within what was characterized as the Five Eyes community as relates to defense or intelligence sharing. And now we're seeing a new relationship emerge. And I did, like you, saw some recent references to New Zealand. We'll see where that plays. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether it's New Zealand or not. What matters is, why has Canada either not been included in the discussion or has chosen not to be part of the discussion? And either of those questions, I think, is significant in and of itself. I have opinions as to why that is the case, but nonetheless, it's not for me to hypothetically to say what I think's going on. Anyway, I apologize for that clumsiness there, but it's almost inexplainable as to why we would not be part of this conversation. And I think we should be concerned. And I think this is an indicator of the fact that there's not the same level of credibility and reliability that there has been over the previous decades in terms of our defense and security commitments.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. You've talked more generally about the increasing need for resilience versus the kind of the mindset of the bean counters and the budget makers in Canada talking about efficiency. Could you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so we have, as any large organization, that bureaucratic organization, there's always a focus on, understandably, with taxpayers' money to be efficient in the use of it. And the problem with that is it becomes a mantra that gets applied to everything across the board, as opposed to thinking at things more strategically. But I think some practical examples here for your viewers. So we look at, the decisions that were made with respect to domestic production of PPE, vaccine production, these kinds of things that we saw play out during the pandemic as being of significant concern, because we were all of a sudden dependent on somebody else. In other words, we had sacrificed our own resilience in the interests of short-term efficiency. And, there is a place for efficiency, absolutely. But there's also a place for strategic thinking as it relates to whether it's supply chain resilience or in the context of defense and security, actually being able to sustain ourselves and to have a domestic capacity to produce things which are in the national interest. It doesn't mean we have to produce everything. But if we can't produce it at home, we better be part of a reliable and credible supply chain amongst our allies, so that we're not depending on potential adversaries for critical components, whether they be electronics, semiconductors, as is playing out. We're seeing that, or something as vital as PPE for the health and safety of our own population.
No, you raise a very good point, and it was very instructive to see President Biden, when he was in Ottawa, make those basically make those same points that he was interested in friendshoring, that whether it was critical minerals or semiconductors or whatever it was, there had to be a new set of supply chains put in place. So we'll see whether Canada can pick up the reins on that. We're going to take another brief break. We'll be back with our guest after that. Please stay with us.